Savoir by Hélène Cixous. Myopia was her fault, her lead, her imperceptible native veil. Strange, she could see that she could not see, but she could not see clearly. Every day there was refusal, but who could say where the refusal came from? Who was refusing, the world or she? She was part of that obscure, surreptitious race who go about in confusion before the great picture of the world. All day long in a position of avowal. I can't see the name of the street. I can't see the face, I can't see the door, I can't see things coming, and I'm the one who can't see what I ought to be able to see. She had eyes and she was blind. Every day she had to pass by the castle. Help came from the statue of Joan of Arc. The great golden woman brandished her flaming lance and showed her the way to the castle. By following the golden sign she would finally get there, until the day when, one morning in the square there was nothing. The statue was not there, no trace of the castle. Instead of the sacred horse, a world of shadow. All was lost. Every step increased the confusion. She stopped, petrified, deprived of the statue's help. She found herself stalled at the heart of the invisible. Everywhere she saw this limitless, pale nothingness, as though by some false step she had entered, living, into death. But here nothingness stayed, and no one. She seized up, fallen upright into the fathomless expanse of a veil, and voila, all that remained of city and time. The catastrophe had happened in silence. And now who was she? Alone. A little nail stuck in the gap. Later in the gap, someone abruptly come from nothing told her that nothing hadn't fled at all. They were definitely in their place. So was it she who could not see the statue, or the castle, or the edges of the world, or the bus? A little veil of mist had got the better of existences in her poor, credulous eyes. The great golden statue had not resisted. This was her first apocalypse. The city lost its solidity. She had been born with a veil in her eye. A severe myopia stretched its maddening magic between her and the world. She had been born with a veil in her soul. Spectacles are feeble forks, only just good enough to catch little bits of reality. As the myopic people know, myopia has its shaky seat in judgment. It opens the reign of an eternal uncertainty that no prosthesis can dissipate. From then on, she did not know. She and Dad were always inseparable. Had things gone away, or else was it she who missaw them? She never saw safely. Seeing was a tottering believing. Everything was perhaps. Living was in a state of alert. Running headlong to her mother, she remained in the possibility of the error until the last second. And what if her mother was suddenly not her mother when she got to her face? The pain of not having recognized that the unknown woman could not be my mother, the shame of taking an unknown for the known par excellence. Did blood not shout out or feel? Treachery of blood of sense so you can get the wrong mother, be wrong up to and including your mother. Body rage against those two, those eyes that cannot run faster, their bridle is innate, all the energy in the world cannot hasten their step. Truths are unmasked a second before the end. Do I see what I see? What was not there was perhaps there. To be and not to be were never exclusive. So as to be able to live, she chose to believe, and it often ended in unhappy discoveries. She placed her confidence in a mad woman, whom she mistrusted but in vain. There is an advantage in the blind, confidence of which she was deprived. Myopia shook up everything, including the proper peace that blindness establishes. She was the first to accuse herself. Even with her eye closed, she was myopic. Myopia, mistress of error and worry. But it also reigns over others. You who are not myopic and you who are myopic. It was also tricking you. You who never saw it. You who never knew what it was spreading its ambiguous veils between the woman and you. It was always there in the invisible that separated the woman forever. As if it were the very genius of separation. This woman was another and you did not know it. I too was myopic. I can attest to the fact that some people gravely wounded by myopia can perfectly well hide from public gaze the actions and existence of their mad fatality. But one day this woman decided to finish with her myopia and without delay made an appointment with the surgeon. Because she had learned the incredible news, science had just vanquished the invisible. It was done in 10 minutes. End of the infinite, a possibility still impossible 3 years earlier. In the list of invincibles promised to defeat, they had just reached myopia. Everything impossible will be possible. It's enough to wait thousands of years. By chance she had known it in her lifetime, her own astral reversal, for all the time up to that day. She had been living in the cave of the species, docile to fatality. She was a prisoner, lunar, from birth. The others had all their wings. It had never come to her mind that she could change her lot. Once blood is spilt in the dust, it doesn't return to the veins. No one would ever have contradicted Aeschylus. Here the blood returned. She was born again. This is how you come into the world without ever having imagined before that hour that you could ever become an inhabitant of daylight. No one had ever before set their feet on this planet. This event has a date. These days, humans change their world every month. There are no longer any myopics through fatality. She, who had never expected it, had lived her old lives trembling like the warriors dying of myopia before the ramparts of Troy, because they didn't even see the enemy appearing 3 paces away. The next day was night ended, she suddenly saw the pattern on the carpet she had never seen. Then the shelves came slowly up, the first to greet her smiling. Still yesterday she was the one who would turn her glasses to the left so that the shelves that were never there could make their appearance. And so the world came out of its distant reserves, its cruel absences. The world came up to her, making its faces precise, all day long. It moved on so fast she could see herself see. She saw sight coming. Before her floated the titles of books, still invisible sirens, and then they came away from the blurred skin, and here they stood out, features drawn. What was not is. Presence comes out of absence. She saw it, the features of the world's face rise to the window, emerging from effacement. She saw the world's rising. Am I by chance witnessing the blossoming of creation? She wondered. Yes, because it was that day she was seeing, from her myopia, that, going away, was still there a little. Struck by the apparition, she burst out laughing, the laughter of childbirth. What was making her jubilant was the "yes, I'm here" of presence, non-refusal, non-retreat. Yes, said the world. Yes, said the timid bell tower behind the building. Yes, I'm coming, said one window, then another. Is seeing the supreme enjoyment, or else is it no longer not seeing? Visible birds passed from right to left in the sky. Flotillas of clouds ran from left to right. It had never been seen. Come, future, come. You come ceaselessly, never arriving, coming. It didn't stop coming, apparitioning carried on. That's what was transporting her, the step of apparition. Come to see. And who is coming, you or I? It was seeing with the naked eye, the miracle. That's what was transporting her, for she had already seen all that behind glass with spectacles and without exaltation, borrowed vision, separated sight. But at the storm, without subterfuge, she had seen the world with her own eyes, without intermediary, without the non-contact lenses. The continuity of her flesh and the world's flesh, touch, then, was love, and that was the miracle, giving, She hadn't realized the day before that eyes are miraculous hands, had never enjoyed the delicate tact of the cornea, the eyelashes, the most powerful hands, these hands that touch imponderably near and far off ears. She had not realized that eyes are lips on the lips of God. She had just touched the world with her eye, and she thought, it is I who can see. I who would thus be my eyes. In the encounter, the meeting point between my seeing soul and you. Violent gentleness, brusque apparition, lifting eyelids, and the world is given to her in the hands of her eyes. And what was given to her that first day was the gift itself, giving. No, the joy is not get one's sight back, but getting to know seeing with the naked eye. What is the equivalent of unheard of, unseen? There had never before been any unseen. It was an invention. It had just begun. And to think that this miracle was striking only her own, her tribe, the myopic. But if myopia could be expelled, was it then a foreigner? She had always had the presentiment that her myopia was her own foreigner, her essential foreignness, her own accidental necessary weakness, her fate, and she had left her fate behind with a leap. Left her skin, her eyelid in which her soul was lying sewn. Before, she said, my myopia, like my life or where I was born. One day she would hear herself say, when I was myopic. The beginning was withdrawing into the past. A prehistory has been formed. Before she was not a woman, first she was a myopic, meaning one masked. eyes no one sees behind the glass mask. Oh, she'd fought hard. With against her own foreign body her stubborn cornea. For a while she was the first to unmask herself. The lenses seemed like a fraud to her. People said to her, "You have beautiful eyes," and she would reply, "I am short-sighted." People did not believe her. They didn't listen. They didn't know. She spoke the truth. She belied her face, her eyes, as if her real, as if her false, as if she were lying, wandering, flickering of that lie. Where is the truth? Myopia was her truth. I am coming to the world. I am climbing day after day the steps of visibility. Every day diminishes the imprecision of imprecision. Slowly, rapidly, depending on the point of view, she was not seeing, a little less from hour to hour. From what ancient unfathomable depth running through the nights of billions of kilometers were the visibles coming up toward her? How to measure this slow and powerful advent? And irreversible. That's when she shuddered as an unexpected morning stabbed through her. But I'm losing my myopia. Quick, miracle, she was crying. Hold on, slowly, miracle, she cried. Today the poignant regret that had been the secret of her childhood was dying. She had been the chosen one of the family, the myope among the swans. It was a curse, an internal enchantment, an unmerited impotence that was herself and against which she revolted with all her strong vein strength, the most subtle form of an injustice, for this myopia that had chosen her and placed her apart was as undetachable from her as her blood from her vein. It was she was it, its inaudible, incessant murmur. Today her sister, anger, was dying. Suddenly myopia, the other, the unwelcome, is unveiled. The other was none other than her sweetheart, her modest companion born, her dear secret. Already the mysterious misty tundra of always was effaced. Farewell, my sweetheart, my mother. Now it was time to bid cruel and tender farewell to the veil she had cursed so much. Now at last I can love my myopia, that gift in reverse. I can love it because it is going to come to an end. She had fallen into a state of farewell. The mourning for the eye that becomes another eye. I'll never be short-sighted again. But the supplement of lightness in passing into the visible without having to break down the door every moment. The joy of the eye, physically delivered. A delicious sensation of staples removed, for myopia has little claws. It holds the eye under a little tight veil, screwed down eyelids, insistences, vain efforts to pass through the veil and see, forehead frown. The joy of the unbridled eye. You can hear better like this. To hear you have to see clearly. Now she could hear clearly, even without glasses. But while her unbound soul soared, a fool formed, getting away from my myopia, she was discovering the bizarre benefits her internal foreigner used to heap on her before, that she had never been able to enjoy with joy, but only in anguish, the non-arrival of the visible at dawn, the passage through not seeing. Always there has been a threshold, swim across the strait between the blind continent and the seeing continent, between two worlds, a step taken, come from outside, another step, en pas encore. An imperfection, she opened her eyes and saw the not yet, le pas encore. There was this door to open to get into the visible world. Not to see is defect penury first, but not to see oneself seen is virginity, strength, independence. Not seeing, she could not see herself seen. That's what had given her blind woman's lightness, the great liberty of self-effacement. Never had she been thrown into the war of faces. She lived in the above without images where big indistinct clouds roll. And also not seeing oneself is a thing of peace. She had never had to suffer her own face. She gave herself the loved face for a face. Not that she didn't have one, but she did not see it, except from very close up. From very close up she saw her mouth, her cheek, but not her face. Is seeing close up seeing? It was the face of the loved one that was her face. The blur, the chaos before the genesis, the interval, the stage, the deadening, the belonging to non-seeing, the silent heaviness, the daily frontier crossing, the wandering in limbo, would soon have disappeared. Limbo, the region of the myopic, purgatory and promise, dubious environ, the sojourn of the just before redemption. And now she was losing her limbo. which was the water in which she swam. She was being brutally saved, redemption without delay. But is one saved by a coup de grace, or else hit, thrown, struck down? By going, my poor fairy, my myopia, you are withdrawing from me the ambiguous gifts that filled me with anguish and granted me states that those who see do not know, she murmured. Do not forget me. Keep forever the world suspended, desirable, refused. That enchanted thing I had given you, murmured myopia. If I forgot thee, O Jerusalem, may my right eye, etc. Ah, I see coming in place of my diffuse rain, a rain without hesitation. I shall always hesitate. I shall not leave my people. I belong to the people of those who do not see. What the seers have never seen, presence before the world. But before, not knowing that that's what she saw, did she see it? Do the seers know that they see? Do the non-seers know that they see differently? What do we see? Do I see that they see? Some see and do not know that they see. They have eyes and do not see that they do not see. At dawn, she still saw herself, one last time, see that she still did not see what later she would see at once. And of all that, only the myopia that passes from not seeing to seeing is the witness, but is a witness that passes. She would forget, but conscious witness? No. Only that myopia of a Tuesday in January, the myopia that was going away, leaving the woman like a slow inner sea, could see both shores, for it is not permitted to mortals to be on both sides. Such an experience could take place only once. That's what was disturbing her. Myopia would not grow again. The foreigner would never come back to her. Her myopia, so strong, a force that she had always called weakness and infirmity. But now its force, its strange force, was revealed to her. Retrospectively, at the very moment it was taken away from her. Nostalgia for the secret, non-seeing was rising. And yet, we want so much to see, don't we? To see, we want to see. Perhaps we have never had any other will than to see. D'autres vouloir que voir.